Welcome back to this tutorial video on Geo-Surface Pro, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to draw your drainage lines on the map. So to get us started here, what I've done is I've pre-populated a field and I followed exactly the process we did in the previous video where we went through the setup tab. So if you haven't watched that one yet, probably a good idea just to jump over, watch that one first before you try and follow along here. So as a reminder, what I did is I drew my boundary, then I auto fetched my LiDAR data, and then I submitted for drainage analysis layers. And what I got is I've got my flow lines here, so I can adjust those. I can adjust my ponding layer, so if you want to tweak it a little bit just to target certain areas, if you're targeting your drainage on certain areas, and you've got your other different layers that you can turn on and off here as well. So remember, that's all always available from the Map Layers tab. So in this case, let's just have a look at this field in 3D, and we can see it all slopes to the east or to the right as we look at it in the regular map view. And then we can see here, this would be the field edge ditch, and then the little hump up there is the road that we also got included when we fetched the LiDAR, because remember, we pull in a little bit of a buffer around the field as well, around the field boundary when we fetch the LiDAR. So in this case, we've got a plan. My plan here is that whatever kind of drainage I'm doing, let's say we're going to design a simple tile drainage system on this field. My outlet is probably going to be somewhere around here, where my mouse is now, and it would make sense to run the main along that edge of the field, and then we'll run some laterals just coming out. So I'll just show you how this works with the tools. We're not going to go into all the detail here on validation and things like that. We'll cover that in another video just to keep these manageable and short. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off the flow layers for now and the ponding layer, just because I prefer to work without the clutter on the map. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the design tab, okay, so the middle tab on the left hand side. And this is where we draw our drainage runs, and in this case we call it a manual survey, so it's a proposed drainage route. So you're going to click on that first button on the in that box there, and then this is where we need to choose whether we're drawing a surface or a tile drain. So I said in this case we're going to do tile. I'll do another little bit with some surface as well just to show you what that looks like. So then, because we haven't drawn anything yet, the only option here is that we have to start with a main. So even if you're just going to put one tile in, it's going to be classed as a main because it needs to go to an outlet. So we're going to click on that, and you'll see here we get this little pop-up notification saying start drawing at the outlet. So it is really important, whether you're doing tile or surface drainage, the system always assumes that you start drawing at the outlet. Just like when you're installing maybe a tile system, you're probably going to want to start installing at the outlet. In the same way, we want you to start drawing at the outlet. So let's just assume that our outlet is going to be somewhere around here, let's say into the ditch. And now I'm just going to click my left mouse button and keep drawing. If you're drawing a curved line, just keep clicking the left button once, and when you're happy that it's complete, then you just double click and it will close, complete the drawing. So what you can see here, let's ignore for now all the X's that's telling us that that's actually not a very good run. But what we've done now is we've just drawn our first drainage line, which is our main, and you'll see now over on the left here under active profile it shows up as T1, so that means tile 1 main. So that's our first tile main, and then we've got these other options under here, so our different depth constraints, minimum grade, minimum size, things like that. Let's not worry about that for now. Let's just focus on how we draw the actual lines, and again I'll do another video right after this one where we'll start to do some more validation. So let's say you've drawn your first run, and again, this could be a tile main, it could be a surface main, it doesn't matter. What you can do now is you can come back and you can start connecting runs to it. So you can see now that we have one existing main. We could draw another main right next to it if we wanted, or anywhere else, because a main doesn't have to connect to anything else. So let's say I just want to also draw a main here as an example, and you can see now it's been called T2, so that's tile 2 main, and that one actually doesn't have any validation errors for now. So I'm just going to keep on using that one just to get us through this demo. So let's say now we wanted to connect some either laterals or submain to this main. And because we've now drawn a couple of mains, we have the options enabled. We can either choose submain. So remember, a submain is a main that's connected, and it's got to connect to the main, but then you'll be connecting some laterals probably to the submain as well. Now, when you're trying to draw either a submain or laterals, it will not let you start drawing until you're actually on a main. It has to connect to the main, so it won't let you start. If I try and start drawing here, it's not going to let me. So let's say we were going to have a submain. In this case, I don't know if it'll work, but we'll do something like that. And you can see now that it's showing up as T2 SM1. So that means it's our tile system 2. And this is submain 1, so we know now that that one is connecting to T2 down here. And what you can also see now is if, let's say, go back to the profile for the T2 main, you'll see that any connections you have to that run will show up on the profile. So in this case, that little green dot there, that's where this connection is actually happening on the along that run. So it lets you see how deep you're going to be, lets you see exactly where all the connections are along the run. And then in this case, let's say we were going to add some laterals to either the main or the submain. So you can't connect laterals again. They can't start without being connected to something. So you can connect a lateral either to a main or to a submain. And let's just assume that we were going to run maybe laterals like this. And again, there I've just drawn it, double clicked. And now if I went and look at the profile for the T2 main, we can see now that we've got 2 connections. So we've drawn those 2 runs, the lateral and the submain. And let me just do another one, connect a lateral to submain as well. So now if I went to look at the submain, we should see now that we also have that connection point showing on the submain as well, right there. So that's the essentials of how you draw your runs. You have to start with a main, and then once you have a main, you can connect either submain or laterals to it. And let me just show you what it looks like for surface drains. So let's just change the type here, and let's go to surface. And with surface, we just have main drains and tributaries. So in this case, let's just start with a main drain here. And again, you'll be doing a much better job than me. And there's my surface drain, my surface main drain. And then if I want to connect something to that, let's say we're going to connect a tributary, we can do that like that. And you can also connect a tributary to a tributary. So in surface drainage, we don't talk about mains and submains and laterals. We've just got main drains and tributaries. So anything that's going to the eventual outlet is a main drain, but you can actually connect. That one's not going to work probably because it's going downhill. You can actually connect then tributaries to tributaries, and you can make your system as simple or as complex as you like. So what I would suggest when you get to this point is just spend some time getting used to those controls, pick a field, and just start drawing random lines. If you've got an idea of a project that you're thinking of taking on, for example, just start drawing lines. Don't worry about the values and everything else for now. We'll cover that next. All the different attributes and validations and things like that. Just get used to the drawing, get used to the flow, drawing a main, connecting to it, building your system that way, because that's how this whole software works. You're going to be essentially your own artist, and you're going to be designing your own system in that way. So play around again a little bit on your own with that. And once you're comfortable with drawing those different kinds of drainage lines, come back, watch the next video, and we'll start looking at what happens next.